He prowls the depths of the North Atlantic, a terror beneath the crashing waves. With rage and conviction, he storms the gates of Atlantis and seeks to usurp your king. He is Black Manta. Welcome. This is Super Black. We are your hosts, Carl and Dan, and today we are talking about I think that's our first supervillain, one that we are intimately knowledgeable on. And I say that with all, what's the word?
You lie!
There you go. It's two words. We know nothing about this guy, but he's funny looking and he's pretty cool. His name is Black Manta, the scourge of the Atlantic Ocean. Dan, what was your first sort of introduction to the Black Manta character?
My DC comic book cards back in the mid to late 90s.
Ooh.
Yes. That was my
that's
first.
how most people got acquainted with many superheroes back in the 90s, right?
Yeah. It's like I still have that collection. I went home a couple of weeks ago, popped that open, and it's like, oh, there's Black Manta. And it's like, brought back, like, I remember just looked like, that's a funny looking hat, and just moving on.
Yeah. Let's give a breakdown to the listeners on what this guy kind of looks like, who his enemies are. So just off the bat, if you've never seen Black Manta, I'm fairly certain that the first time you saw him, you'll never forget him, which is a staple of a good character design, I think, but also don't make him look like this. So Black Manta is basically a man in a wetsuit with a UFO-shaped helmet. And by UFO, I mean it comes out further than his shoulders. It's huge with these giant fish eyes, and it has the scales. Is it a scale or a fin? It has fins on the top, and he fights with his wetsuit is power armor basically. So it gives him super strength. He's able to swim crazy fast, lift heavy objects underwater, which I don't understand. I don't think that's really a thing, and he is the arch nemesis of Aquaman. So Jason Momoa has an arch nemesis, and his name is Black Manta. So if you go out there looking for that guy, you see a UFO shaped head, that's him, and you'll never not see him after that. It's the weirdest thing. He's been on he's been on Smallville. What else? He was in the Justice League cartoon.
Keep in mind, he was in the Justice League cartoon, I think, when they did not have the rights to the actual name of Black Manta, so they referred to him as another character. Like, he was in the background. Right. Yeah. He definitely had a silhouette of Black Manta, but they did not call him that.
That's right. I forgot that they called him a different name.
They called him Devil Ray.
Devil Ray. Wow. Yes. And he most certainly looks like that. I think. All right. So we're kind of all over the place because we're not super into Black Manta's origins or anything, because during our research we found out that his origins are very poorly written, as it were. But his character design and the fact that he's called Black Manta, which you'll hear another episode about that conversation, is interesting. So my next question to you, Dan, first of all, finish your thought on your first introduction to Black Manta.
It was one of those, like, I just looked through the card. I didn't even at that point, I didn't put two and two together that he was a black man. I just thought he was a superhero with black tones and a big old helmet and looked scary, so they called him Black Manta. And just that was pretty much it. It was like it was take it or leave it, because at that point I wasn't necessarily big into Aquaman, because even Aquaman at that point was kind of a silly character, so I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, I didn't know actually that Black Manta was a black man until the Young Justice cartoon, which Dan and I both love and hold very dear to our hearts.
Exactly, and I still watch it to this. Oh, they began the voice recordings for the new season. By the
Oh,
way,
bless your heart, Netflix, for bringing that back.
yes.
Um,
But I remember seeing him take off his helmet and realizing there's a black man underneath there. I was like, wait, that's really on the nose. What's going on here? And then
super on the
because Young
nose.
Justice was so good at writing and plotting and turning their characters into these fleshed out, amazing people, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. Every once in a while, I still look at it, I was like, why is he black and called Black Manta? I was like, that makes no sense. And then the racist man in me was like, hey, black people can't swim. What's going on here?
You took it to a whole other level. Like, you know, he shouldn't be in the water.
Yes.
Get out of that pool.
Yes.
Get out
Oh,
of
God
Black
damn it.
Manta. But I think I agree with you that I thought it was a nice reveal that he was a black guy, because my entire life I didn't know. I've known about Black Manta for quite a while, and I knew that he was, you know, a villain of Aquaman's, but they never show his face. That was the thing. At least growing up, I never saw a comic. I never read an Aquaman comic, so my only interaction with this character were cartoons. It was Teen Titans cartoon. He was in there. It was again when he was called Devil Ray in the Justice League, and then again with Young Justice. Like it's actually a weird, nice story that I didn't know that this happened until. And I only have interactions with him in a cartoon, and a cartoon showed me that he was a black guy. So his writing was, you know, very good in Young Justice, and it introduced the fact that he's a father, and his son is Aqualad. Yeah,
the other Aqualad,
the second one. Yeah,
yes,
which made for very in depth, very crazy storytelling in that cartoon, like very adult stories about an estranged father trying to reconnect with his son, who they both have different views on the world. Like, if that's not just a normal story of fathers and sons, then what is? Like, it's like having a son who has different political views than you, and you want to almost bring him over to your side because you're like, this is my son, he should think like I think. But then there's like that weird push and pull where he has to be his own man. Well, in Black Manta's world, he needs Aqualad to be an evil guy. He needs him to be a bad guy. He wants him to be by his side. He sees his son as a very strong, very capable Atlantean. And the fact that he's fighting on the side of his greatest enemy is just, it kills him. So the storytelling in Young Justice that they did with Black Manta and Aqualad, I feel was great. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was very well fleshed out.
All right, let's double back on Black Manta. My next question was based on a conversation that we had earlier. Do you think Devil Ray is a better name than Black Manta?
Only because no, it's like, oh no, it doesn't. Yes, Devil Ray is a real, but at the same time, like Black Devil, like that's like I see that in my head. I know it's meant to be, he's meant to be a bad guy, but those connotations don't seem to go hand in hand in my brain right now.
Oh, you can't divorce.
Like you can both say it.
I didn't think that. I thought Devil Ray is just a cool sounding name for a supervillain. And if it's a black guy, it's a black guy. That's fine. And if he wears a black suit, that's fine. And if someone at some point calls it that Black Devil, I would actually kind of laugh at that. Like, man, what is that dude from the 70s? Like, where did he come from? I don't know. I kind of like Devil Ray. I like it as an alternative name. Like that was a good choice on their part. If they don't have the rights to the name Black Manta, Devil Ray certainly fits the role nice. They could have went way worse.
So they could have gone worse. And when I made that realization that was Black Manta in the background and they called him Devil Ray, me being honest, I was like, no, that's not right. I at that point I preferred Black Manta. Because I was so used to that name. It's been around for such a long time. It's like why don't you just call him by what he's supposed to be?
Yeah, you couldn't divorce the character from the name and it might have to do with the fact that it's so blatantly obvious that it's him, because there's no other
Yep.
character that looks like Black Manta. And I think uh, as an exercise in kind of branding a superhero, you want to have a really prominent silhouette. We've talked about this before, and there are a number of characters in like Batman with the ears, or Wonder Woman with the lasso. If you paint them all black and have them stand, you can pick these superheroes out of a lineup. Superman and kind of like every other buff, barrel chested, cape wearing dude is a little harder to pull out. But
Mhm.
Black Manta cuts. Not only does Black Manta cut a striking shadow, you don't really have to paint a whole lot of them to get that shadow going. He's kind of already all black.
No, nope, not at all. And it's like it's one of those like that makes him memorable, just like every other superhero, Superman. Well, not really Spider-Man anymore because, well, yeah, Daredevil. Not they all cut like a like interesting. You don't even have to add much to the costume themselves. It's just very basic elements that make them imposing and fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So let's move on to Black Manta's kind of origin. And while we aren't interested in this, let's turn this into kind of like a Forge deal where we make up our own backstory for Black Manta, and see how interesting we can get with a basically a black guy who lives underwater. So I guess this is the Forge, people. Welcome. All right,
All right,
let's see what you kick it off. I usually kick these off, but I have nothing for this guy right now.
I mean, how it's like how do you want to go? It's like so we're not actually going to talk about his actual origin story. Where we want to dive into something
Yeah, let's do something different.
older.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So considering that Aquaman in the comic book series is somewhat magical, not somewhat, he is is a magical kind of creature. I want to say that Black Manta has existed for more than a century, and he was alive via the slave trade, and he was actually a slave that escaped and was caught and then thrown overboard during one of the trips back and forth between between the Triangle Trade, and somehow this is where I'm going to start needing help because I think you know where I'm going at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like somehow he was caught up in some sort of like let's go back to the Bermuda Triangle, right? He washed ashore in the Bermuda Triangle, where he was stuck for centuries, and one day,
what if his preservation is based off of maybe he's like the mirror of Aquaman, you know? Like everything you just said, but in like the way Aquaman has his trident, the magical trident, maybe there's like a sister version of that he has that keeps him that has preserved him this long, but his hate and his pain has corrupted the magic inside of it, and it's kind of like changed his physiology so that maybe he's not even uh, wearing a wetsuit. His skin has just become like pitch from hate over the centuries, just seething, and it's all magnified by this other trident or quadrident. What's a four pronged one? It's a quadrident.
it's four is quad, yes. I don't know if like because we can make up that term and just keep it moving.
Sure, quadrident.
Okay,
Everyone.
quadrident. But even I'm thinking this is just me nitpicking now because even Aquaman's trident in the Justice League movie is technically a quadrident.
Okay, so maybe he has like 17 prongs. I don't know.
Okay.
We can put in as many prongs as we want. But should it be like maybe there's two of them, or maybe if you put them together they become like one long one?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe each Aquaman and and Black Manta have opposite ends of the same staff, the way Darth Maul had a lightsaber that can connect itself.
Okay.
Then at least you have a tether to Aquaman. So he doesn't actually know who Aquaman is at the start. They both like he's centuries old. So there is no Aquaman when he starts. But
So the two pieces are drawn together. So here we go. So what if his quadrant was the source of the power that created the Bermuda Triangle? What if the triangle's created to keep the trident from getting into anybody else's hands, and somehow he found a way in? You know, in that last desperate moment of him trying to find land, the trident pulled him into the Bermuda Triangle.
I like
So
where this is going. Ooh, I like where
so
this
he
is going.
stopped. Yeah, so he stopped aging with the help of the trident and sat in the Bermuda Triangle for centuries, watching all these ships crash ashore.
He's the reason the ships crash. He is all he knows is these slave boats. So every time a boat comes, he thinks it's a slave ship coming to get him. He crushes it, destroys it. They go into the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody comes out. This magical staff he uses to kill these suspected slave traders. And every time he kills, the hate grows and his skin turns blacker and darker. And
But what if that's like not only is he pulling in slave ships, but now he's pulling like old World War II ships, like all this stuff.
Everything. He's
but
blinded by
time,
hate.
like,
He's blinded by all to him. All of these are slave ships. All the planes that come in are coming to enslave him. Everything that comes into the Bermuda Triangle, he thinks is coming after him because what else does he know? He's the only one in there. Why would they be going in there?
What if he has, with all the slave ships that he's pulled in to the shore that he's destroyed, he's created his own armada because he rescues the slaves.
Yes.
He delivers, meanwhile he's becoming this senile dictator.
He's a pirate king.
He becomes a pirate king.
He's a friggin' pirate king. He saves all. Man, this is gonna become really maybe racially tinged, but he saves all the black people that he off these ships, thinking that he's liberating slaves, turns them to his side through not only charisma but magic. Like the magic is corrupting them as well. Everything in his presence is becoming corrupted, and he's building this crazy army, training, rebuilding the ships in his own image. Just these dark midnight ghost ships that they man and go out and collect supplies from. He sends his army out. He can't leave the Bermuda Triangle because of the staff, but he sends his armadas out for supplies, and everyone always returns.
What's his redemption, though?
I don't know. At some point,
we know what motivates his hate, but like we to build a well-rounded character, we know that we can't make him one-dimensional. Yes, he's an escaped slave, and he has that fear and resentment of what's going on. But at a certain point, he becomes more powerful than the people that pulled him in, right? So but I feel
he needs an arc. I get that part, but I feel I wanted to get the cool portions back, so we can double in and just say maybe his redeeming factor is that maybe he does have a son, like that Aqualad, and his son was with him on the boat. Maybe that's the catalyst. We work in Aqualad, so maybe Aqualad becomes an immortal as well, but he becomes an Atlantean. Like the son gets tossed overboard with the father. Atlantis gets the boy, and he goes to the Bermuda Triangle. So he wants to find his son. Maybe he doesn't have a concept of how long he's been in the Bermuda Triangle. So when he gets out, I don't know, does he find out that his son died? Does he find out that his son is working with Atlanteans? Is the boy immortal? How would the boy become immortal?
No, I mean, we could go that route.
Ooh, what if he dies, but the magic holds on to that that characteristic and like transfers it through centuries to different people in his like his entourage, like it's a passed down mantle. Like as the old Black Manta dies, he hands the staff off to someone he saved that's younger, basically giving over that essence of that first guy to him.
Like
So
Dread Pirate Roberts.
kind of, yeah, except literally transferring over his essence and his, you know, his thoughts, completely taking over this other vessel, and just transfers that throughout the centuries. And he's just in a never-ending search for his lost son. Then we can say that there is a guy, you know, there is a boy whose father, like a father lost his son to the Atlanteans, and he takes on the the essence of the original guy and all the subsequent guys. And there's still that burning like sensation from the first guy to find his son. This guy has the same motivation, which amplifies his powers, and now he goes off to Atlantis to get his son back.
I was going a different way in my head. I like that idea, but the idea that I have, and say, you know, I know it's probably may not work completely fleshed out right now, but so we stick with the Black Manta as who he is already, right? On the Bermuda Triangle, and we'll say he got thrown off the ship with his son because he tried to escape with his son, right? So they get thrown overboard. Somehow he gets sucked into the Bermuda Triangle, but his son gets saved by an Atlantean. Like maybe there's a fleet out there patrolling the waters, and they didn't get to the father in time. Like they already know about the Bermuda Triangle and the cage that turned out to be for this other trident, and the person who had the trident before him, who probably already had the mantle of Black Manta, kind of like incorporating what you talked about before. So that kid gets adopted. He goes to Atlantis, and he grows up there, and he has his own family. You know, they and so on and so forth. And as like the years go down, right, a child is born that looks exactly like his son. And one day, as like he's, you know, it's like he takes on the moniker of Aqualad, and he's out in the oceans one day doing the patrol of the Bermuda Triangle, and the Black Manta on his patrol is just so happens to see him, and
so
that
he sees basically his grandson, and believes it to be his son.
yes,
Okay, I like the idea. I actually, if you were to take a step back and say the original son finds an Atlantean family, and then the father goes looking for him when he's in his like Aqualad stage, his teen stage, and then sees that he's grown up. He basically wants his son back, but his son is like, I don't know who you are. And then compound that with the fact that he's like destroying ships. He's basically the scourge of Atlantis.
He tries to explain to his son, like, he tries to explain to his son, like, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this for us. These people are bad. I'm trying to stop this from happening.
I've been looking for you. This is all I've wanted, is to find you. And his son hates him because he's been raised in a society where literally the Black Manta is the boogeyman.
Yes.
And it really goes to that Star Wars father son story where it's like, it cannot be true that you're my dad. It can't be. And he's like, trust me, I am your father, and I'm here to. I need you back. I need you back. And he's like, no, I have a family, and you're obviously not my father because you're the devil. You're literally the devil. Like you're a murderer, and our king is coming for you. And that puts him on the path, is like, well, then if that's the case, then I will be the king. And he gets that conflict with Aquaman, where Aquaman's basically fighting him to stop him from, you know, destroying people, killing people, and enslaving people with his magic. And Black Manta is doing it to just all on the basis to regain that little bit of love he had with his son. You know, that bright spot, the only bright spot in his life at that tumultuous time. He's doing all of this like I'm going to overthrow this king. I'm going to become leader of Atlantis. We're going to merge the Bermuda Triangle with Atlantis. It's going to be beautiful. I'll get my son back. Like his brain is working uh in that mode, but every step that he mentions, there's just a long list of evil stuff he has to do to get to that.
Yes. Yeah, that works just fine. Absolutely.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
We could even keep the autism angle. Like he was an autistic young man growing up, so he was shunned in whatever village he was in, so that
Mhm.
when and then I don't know, maybe he finds somebody to love and they have
Yeah,
this
that the one person understands him, takes him in, they become a couple, and
that
they have a child.
and that's when
So,
right when they have the
that,
kid, they go the slave ships come in, kill the
yeah,
wife, so he loses his only love. Now the only thing that brings him joy, the only tether to that love is his son, and then they get separated. That like emotional trauma is amplified by the magic of the sister staff. It all works.
it
I,
works absolutely.
I like this character way more with our backstory than with the original one. No, all right, let's take it one step further before we close out this episode, and let's change his look. Like I like the helmet, I get, but I'd rather not do that.
Hmm.
So what, like how do we balance uh, a very striking silhouette without having his head look like a dinner plate?
I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm trying to because
I think a lot of it would come with the staff. I think the staff should be huge.
hmm
I think Aquaman has a very long staff, but I think his should be like he can extend it if he needs to, and it's like the way Sephiroth has a sword that's like clearly 8 feet long. He has a staff that is about that long, so he's always holding on to that. And then I think his outfit should be an amalgamation of uh, pieces of ships and old garments from wrecked uh, passersby, like just a patchwork of armor that he stitched himself together, just plated uh, aqua armor. But then he needs something to breathe with. I think the magic would help with that. No,
the magic. I don't necessarily want to go that route just yet. Like every time we talk about his costume being a patchwork of what's going on, I keep thinking to those old Bell swimsuits, like the big old puffy ones with the big old helmets.
The submarine the I know what you like, the Bioshock type giant
Yes.
diver suit.
So he finds a way to integrate that helmet with the rest of the diving suit or whatever starts growing on him as as he becomes more and more corrupted, more and more evil.
I think oh, how about this? I like the idea of the bell suit. I think it would have to slim down if he's going to be in any shape to be combat ready. Like he
Hmm.
would if he's doing the fighting. Because at the onset he's going to be doing a lot of the ship crashing on his own. So he has to have good movement. So I guess
Yeah.
the ocean, like the staff can control the waves, so he can ride waves on that giant
Mm-hmm.
ship. So there isn't an interesting split between this giant heavy diver suit and the water basically just carrying him wherever he needs to go fast. Like he barely moves. The water does everything for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually like that idea of like maybe he just he has that diver suit from uh, does he build the diver suit around himself, or does he have one like as a base that he modifies?
He has to build a suit. The Trident helps him build the sister staff helps him build another suit. I'm trying to figure out the best way to incorporate that the headpiece. Like what would make the most sense for the headpiece. You know, we can go the Batman route and be like, what scared him? You know, what was intimidating to him? And the
I think the
stingrays. What?
depth. I think the depths of
Mm-hmm.
the ocean coupled with the sea life is a good route. I like that, having him be afraid of. But I don't. I would rather him not be like Batman, where he's like, I'm going to use my what I'm afraid of to, uh, you know, strike fear into
Mm-hmm.
other people. I think with him, it's more, I'm afraid of the ocean and I'm afraid of, the things underneath it. So let me get as bulky as possible so that they can't hurt me. So we don't need to have him have a manta ray shaped head. It could be like that
Mm-hmm.
diver's a rounded helmet, like a giant diver's helmet. Uh,
But he just happens like it's like he just happens to come across as the centuries go on.
yeah, like
Right?
or
We can have the origin story take place, have him encounter his son, lose his son. Okay, so we can have him lose his son back to Atlantis, right? He retreats back to Bermuda, and then centuries later, his grandson, great grandson, emerges from Atlantis as Aqualad. Like we don't have to call his son. We don't even have to call his son Aqualad, to be absolutely honest,
no.
right? But his great grandson emerges as Aqualad, and by that time, he's found the diving suits. He's incorporated the helmet into the costume, and he's now ready to take his act as revenge. Like he has become the boogeyman for the Like he's the Atlanteans' boogeyman.
And I like the idea of him in this suit being super fast underwater. Like the
Yeah.
magic carries him around, but if you're in Atlantis and you look up and there's just this very heavy looking suit literally like plowing through the water around the glass dome.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. And I like the idea that maybe over the centuries the magic is doing a lot of it for him to the point where one day the suit is no longer necessary and he cracks it off, and underneath his skin is pitch black and there's like tendrils of black going up, like from his neck up his nose into his mouth, and that's what's allowing him to breathe. Basically the magic is like uh crawled into his nostrils and his into his mouth, and it like pumps the air into him. So he's just like, you could see that he's a black man above, but then there's just like these tendrils of magic inky skin pouring down his
Mm-hmm.
throat from his neck, and you see it's like it's working its way to his brain, so he's being corrupted. And one day he just cracks the uniform off, and then he's in the ocean. Then he looks like the boogeyman, like he's like this monstrous looking dude just careening through the water looking for Aquaman and his son.
And I'm looking up the old diving masks and what they look like,
Mm-hmm.
and an argument can be made where that eventually just turns into the Black Manta costume, right? And the reason for the red glowing eyes is because the magic is completely just taken over. Like he's just used the diving helmet now as a way to scare people.
Yeah, it's his boogeyman outfit.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what I do to strike fear. This is how they know I'm coming. And
Yep.
it pulls him out. Maybe the magic does kind of my idea, but he does it to everybody else. So while it does it to everybody, so his entire armada, his army, can breathe underwater, but he's the only one that puts on the helmet because at this point it makes everybody afraid.
Yep.
And he's just like this stoic, like statuesque man floating through the water slowly while his like armada of basically I basically he has his own slaves. He's been liberating these people in his mind thinking that they were going to be slaves, and basically made them slaves anyway. Not only to
Mm-hmm.
him but to the magic. So there's irony.
Yep. Yeah.
Damn.
I love that.
Now what do we do with
It's
all
like
that? What do we do?
pack it away into a file. Like we are slowly building our own universe.
Oh my god, that's so great, folks. I hope you enjoyed our ramblings, our creative ramblings, and if you did, and you'd like to hire us to write stuff for Marvel or DC or Image or whatever, just get in contact, and we'll definitely talk because we're smart guys.
Absolutely.
I think that's the end of the Black Manta episode. We went a little longer, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that was the most fun I've had talking about Black Manta ever. This has been Super Black. Thank you for listening. Hit us up on Twitter and on Facebook. You know what? Don't even hit us up on Facebook. I'm never on there. But on Twitter at SuperBlackOrg. On Instagram, you can go to The Carnival Prince and The Basement Monster and look at some great art from Dan. And you can hit up SuperBlackOrg to get updates on the show and see art from Dan as well on our weird creations. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. And this is Full Stop.
Peace out, folks.